So of course I'll start by removing the edge loops. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete the center part and simply just, I'll leave it for now. This is a flat area. I can go ahead and cap it later. And let's see, what I'll go ahead and do is I want to have just one loop running through here in the middle. Right now there are two loops running through the middle, and I want one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this edge. I'm going to count the amount of spaces until I get to the next edge. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go here under modify selection. I'm going to change the dot gap value to 3. And what I'm telling the program now is when I press this button here, dot ring or dot loop, what I wanted to do is I wanted to skip 3 edges and go to the 4th one. So let's see that in action. And here we are. I'll go ahead and ring that. And now I will go ahead and, so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and remove these edges here. So what I can do is I think I can simply select these polygons, remove that, modify my angle snap. Let me try 11.25 and then rotate around here 32, or let me see, not 32, I think it was 15. Okay, that's correct. And then I'll go ahead and attach them all together. Weld. Okay, now just go ahead and remove some of these edges here. I've gone and applied one smoothing group just to see what it will look like, and so far the smoothing seems to be alright. It looks like a mess, but that's just the nature of triangulation. There are a few things you can try. I think I can try to weld these edges together to further simplify it. I'm just going to go ahead and do this manually. Sometimes if you can't come up with a method to do it quickly, sometimes you just have to go ahead and do it yourself like this. And I'm just going to reduce the amount of detail here, because all of these edges are unnecessary. Okay, so you can just keep on simplifying your mesh to get as simple as possible. You know, I might I might get away with just having a cylinder here, but that was just to show you how you can reduce the detail here. So this mesh will subdivide well, it'll give us our high polygon detail, and this will be its low polygon equivalent. But perhaps this is a little bit too large. You might be able to get away with actually using a cylinder here, but I'll just go ahead and use this for now, because once again this is an important mesh, keep that in mind. Alright, so now we can go ahead and get started on, so we can do the same for this part. We can go ahead and clone it, give it our blue material, and I can make sure that all the objects with the blue material are in one layer, in the low poly layer. Right now the layer, if you want to select all the objects inside the layer, just highlight the layer name and click on this button, select highlighted objects and layers, and let me see, what else has it selected? I've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm not sure what else is in there, but I can take this and remove the turbo smooth, remove these edges, this geometry, remove these support edges, just have this. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and focus on this part. I'm going to go ahead and clone it. And I can go ahead and use symmetry to make this go by faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reduce the amount of complexity here. And what I can do is I can select these polygons, actually I can go ahead and delete these as well, and I can just pull the edges out here. Okay, then I can apply symmetry and Z symmetry. Okay, and now I've taken this complex object in the middle and simplified it. And the only thing that's left is to fill in the empty space here. And let's see what it looks like once it's been triangulated. Something like that. Alright, so that's that area. Now we've got to do this one as well. So I'm just thinking about what the best method is to simplify this area. So once again, let's go ahead and set up some symmetry. By deleting the other parts. And let's go ahead and start simplifying the mesh. Selecting the edges, looping and removing. There's a lot of extra edges here that I was adding as I was experimenting with this geometry, adding details, seeing what I could do with it, that are not necessary for the low poly. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. Sometimes you get strange results when you start removing, when you start optimizing. Okay, let me compare with the original mesh. And once again, I can use the dot ring feature to quickly remove unnecessary geometry. And I'm just seeing how much is necessary. And I can really go ahead and simply remove all this geometry. And we're almost done. Just go ahead and remove this. Let's apply the symmetry. And I think there are a few loose vertices to remove, like this one here. Sometimes if the triangulation is too much, you might have to do some manual retriangulation just to get optimal results. But looking at this so far, I think we've done a good job of removing unnecessary geometry. We can also just remove a little bit here at the bottom, just to get as few triangles as possible. Like right here, for example, we've got a completely unnecessary edge going through here that does nothing for the silhouette. You can see right now I focused on the silhouette, getting a nice silhouette, but this edge here does nothing for the low poly. So we can go ahead and, weld that and simplify it. And so just have to develop a good eye for seeing any unnecessary geometry. And we can also delete the bottom, because the bottom is not necessary. And here it's also a good idea to work with edit poly. Every time you make a major change, add an edit poly, and if you don't like it, you can simply delete the modifier. I can go ahead and delete the bottom like so, and to greatly simplify it. Alright, now it's time for this part. I'll go ahead and clone this as well. Okay, so it all depends on whether you want to keep this indentation here. I'll go ahead and keep it, although you can really just get rid of it by deleting the middle and then dragging this edge towards the middle here. So let's just go ahead and simplify it. I'll go ahead and remove this one as well. So there are also several ways that you can do this. You can build the high poly and then get the low poly, or you can build the low poly first and then build the high poly on top of that. That's another valid way of doing it, of doing things. Okay, so can you spot the unnecessary geometry? Right here. And at the bottom. So what I'm trying to do here is right now we have 4 triangles here. Got 2 quads, and of course those 2 quads are each quad is made up of 2 triangles. So we have 4 triangles here. However, if we take this edge and remove it and weld it right here, we now have 3 triangles. 1, 2, and 3. So that is why we do that. And that's about what we can do with this. And so this is its... What we can also do is symmetrify, and see, then we can remove this middle here. it all depends on whether you want to mirror your texture. If you want mirrored textures, you'll need this geometry. If you don't want to mirror your texture, you can go ahead and remove it. I will go ahead and keep it. Okay, so that's the middle part.